Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Steve Barber, and joining me, as always, is my absolutely wonderful co-host, Waylon Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And for those of y'all actually watching on YouTube, you're in for a treat. This is the very first video we've ever posted on YouTube.
Yep.
So we've decided for the brand new year, we're actually going to start posting a video. I will please rest assured that this will improve as we go by
Oh, yeah.
because well, we're already kicking ideas off of each other on how to do some things. If you notice, I have a blanket behind me. Well,
Yeah. If you notice, I have a whole room behind me. My 3-year-old decided she needed her own room, so I gave her my old office, and so I moved the office into my bedroom. So I'm still trying to get everything straightened out, but so just ignore all this back here. But
yep. And all I can say is at least the towels are folded, unlike everything else, like everything that surrounds me. That's why you don't see it. But yeah, absolutely. Welcome. Happy New Year's, Waylon.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, it seems kind of wild to think it's 2022.
I know.
Yeah, because it just seems like it was 10 years ago that it was 2020.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was ever going to end. And wow, this has been quite a run so far. And we're going to be discussing day one, which just happened 2 days ago on New Year's Day. And all I can say is WTF.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get into it, but just
that right there. Okay. But with some of the stuff, we do want to go into some other news real quick. For those of you who are aware of the tornadoes that hit Western Kentucky, or close to where Joylyn lives, a few weeks ago, there were some more tornadoes that hit New Year's Eve. I think the morning of New Year's Eve, and
yes.
these actually hit right in Hopkinsville, which is Joylyn and I consider that to be our hometown. I actually have a couple hometowns, but Hopkinsville, or as we always refer to it as Hoptown, is one of my hometowns, and that's actually where I met Joylyn in high school. And I actually have a lot of fond memories of Hoptown. And it was hit by a tornado. Pretty well, it was about an F2 from what I understand. Which, if it's still nothing to mess around with.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it still did some. Uh, Thankfully, there were no fatalities. Uh, thank God for that. But a lot of people did lose their homes. People lost their businesses. I know there was a Family Dollar that I used to work at on 9th Street that just got. I mean, the building's still there, but the tornado just blew everything out of it.
yep, and because it was saying basically on 9th Street and Campbell Street.
Yep.
And I guess it went kind of right down Campbell Street, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the Family Dollar that you're talking about, and all the pictures I've seen, the pictures that are ground level, they show an AutoZone. I'm like, yeah, I remember that AutoZone.
Yep, because it's right across the street
Yep,
from the Family Dollar. Yep.
yep. And the big, I guess you'd call it a feed mill in the background. You can always
Mm-hmm.
see it. Was
Yeah.
it Casey Mill? Was that the
Yes.
name of it?
Yeah.
Yep. Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yes, I remember that. And of course, when Joel and I were first talking about the tornado today, the first thing I said was, wasn't that about 3 blocks away from where you used to live?
Uh-huh. Yep. It was not too far at all.
Yep. So I'm assuming your mom doesn't still live in the same place.
No. She's across town. So
Okay.
she's okay. Everybody was okay. Some of my brother-in-law's my sister's husband, some of his family were without power, but everybody was okay.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's the important thing is everybody's health is okay. And that's,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, my mom and my stepdad, I mean, they're fine because they were a few miles away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you remember they still live in the same place they did before.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
same house. So they've lived in that house now since 1988. So
Wow.
yeah, this year be 34 years they've lived in that house. I'm going to assume it's all paid off.
I hope so.
Yeah. And excuse me for the coughing. I'm still got a little bit of this gunk kind of caught in my throat. But as you can tell, I'm drinking some orange juice in a nice North Carolina cup.
There you
You
go.
know, say go Tar Heels.
I've just got the old Great Value bottled water, but it's like if I'm going to drink water, this is what I drink.
Oh, there you go. And normally I would not drink orange juice because of my diabetes. You know, Joylyn understands that as well. But
Absolutely, we've got orange juice in the house now, and I'm just like, nope,
I know
not
I hate
drinking it.
I was like, oh, I love orange juice, but I really can't. Right, orange I do right now is just because of the my throat, basically.
Yeah.
But as far as some other news, and I will throw this up in sports. With John Madden passing away, unfortunately,
Yeah.
a lot of teams put out a tribute to him yesterday, and obviously the Raiders as well. My team, you know, I'm part of the Raider Nation, and they went out and they beat the Colts in Indianapolis.
Wow.
Yep. And the Raiders there for a couple of hours, they were one of the wild card spots. And then the Chargers smacked the Broncos around, and
Yeah.
now the Raiders have fallen back. Somehow they're behind the Colts, and I don't get that. I'm like, they just beat the Colts.
They just beat the Colts, but I guess because of the standings,
It's weird because now they have 7 teams going. They're playing 17 games. There's 7 teams going to playoffs from each conference.
yeah.
And I think like the Jets were eliminated after week 3. You know, mathematically they were done. You know,
Yeah.
already.
I'm surprised it took till week 3. But
yeah. People in this area are extremely happy because the Bengals are back in they won the AFC North.
yeah.
They do look good. I'm not gonna lie, they look good.
Oh, they look really good, but I mean, can they? My thing is, can they keep that going and actually win a playoff game?
Because the last time they won a playoff game, Bush Senior was in office.
Yep. We were
And
like you said before we started recording, we were juniors in high school.
We were juniors in high school the last time the Bengals won a playoff game. And and that year they went to the Super Bowl and they had a chance to beat the 49ers, and they did not. I believe that may have been the year that Joe Montana was in the huddle trying to hype his team up. And he's like, yeah, we did this. He looked over in the audience. He said, hey, that's John Candy. Right in the middle of them. And
yeah.
And that's, I think Jerry Rice said, that's what I knew. Oh, we had it. And
yeah.
Chris Collingsworth, and he's also mentioned, of course, him playing for the Bengals.
And,
he's on the other team, and some of his guys are all celebrating already. And he looked at him and said, "You do see who's the quarterback out there, right?"
Yeah, you do see Joe Montana.
Yeah, I mean that's Joe Montana, one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever played.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so there's the nice football news, and and I forgot to even mention the other day we were talking about our predictions, and I would have got all of them wrong anyway. Well, because the Bearcats, speaking of Cincinnati, the Bearcats were actually in the playoff, one of the top 4, and they lost to Alabama. And then Michigan lost to Georgia. So once again, we have Alabama and Georgia in the title game.
At this point, it's like, why even have the little mini tournament thing? Just have Alabama and Georgia in the title game every year, because that seems like what it comes down to.
Well, it was one thing when it was Alabama and Clemson, because at least Clemson is part of the ACC and not part of the SEC.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just, once again, I do realize the SEC is the toughest conference in college football. However, something's up when they didn't even want to include Cincinnati. They said, well, look who they're playing.
Yeah.
They play the same teams all the time. I mean, they weren't always winning like they are this year. And yeah, just every week, let's just have Alabama and Georgia just play each other off to the side.
Yeah.
And all these other, everybody else in the country, all the 121, 22 teams can just, have themselves a good old day.
I still don't understand why they just don't do college football like they do college basketball.
All these bowl games make them the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I know the bowl games are where the money's made, but yeah, make those the tournament. That way, there's one definitive national champion. There's no There's no guesswork. There's no speculation or anything. Because right now there's always like, well, did that team really, should they have been in there? It's like if you just do it as a true tournament, then you don't have any speculation.
Yeah, just every Saturday. Boom.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of tournaments, and actually, college championships anyway, why do they always have the championship games, whether it be football or basketball, men's anyway? I think women's basketball, the championship game for women's basketball, I believe, is on a Saturday night.
I think so.
Maybe, yeah, I know it's not on a Monday. It's either on a Saturday or it's on a Wednesday, or it could even be on a Tuesday. But
they always do the men's on
a Monday.
Yeah,
and the game
they always do the men's on a Monday night.
Yeah, it starts at 9:00 Eastern.
Yeah.
The year that Carolina lost to Villanova on that last second shot, I had fallen asleep.
I was watching that game.
Apparently I missed a great game except for that final shot.
Oh, it was an amazing game. I thought Carolina was going to have it because Hope had taken me. We went out to eat and we went to a sports bar and watched it, and it was an amazing game. They just couldn't get that last shot.
Yeah, and I'd fallen asleep. I was going through some sleep issues at the time, and I'd actually had to take some medicine, and I ended up having to go off the medicine. But that's another story. The medicine had started giving me like weird heartbeat things. I could hear my heartbeat, and I could hear it was like doom, doom.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, call the doctor. Yeah, I'm getting off of this. He's like, yeah, you should get off of that.
Yeah, like right now.
Yeah, like right now. And he said, yeah, don't take any more of that. And see, that same year, Clemson lost to Alabama in the national championship game, and I fell asleep for that one. And so the next year, I stayed awake during Clemson, Alabama. Clemson won. And then I managed to stay awake for Carolina and Gonzaga, with the exception of like 5 minutes. I did, manage to fall asleep. When I woke up, Gonzaga were ahead. And I was like, nope. So, stayed awake. Carolina, of course, won. Great game. Another great game because Gonzaga was a great team.
Yeah.
And, and I was able to celebrate. I went in and ran into my daughter's room. Yeah, she was just out. I couldn't even wake her, and I was like, so all I can say is to both those teams, you're welcome. That's how sports works. We know.
There it goes. If Steve stays awake, you're going to win.
And into some wrestling news before we start diving into this pay-per-view, which was fine up until the very last minute of the pay-per-view. But
did you catch where they're not calling it a pay-per-view anymore? It's a premium live event.
Because you don't pay per view it anymore.
Yep. Yep.
Which means that, hey guys, maybe you ought to stop having those every single month because you're losing money.
Yeah.
You're no longer getting those buys. So, Alberto Del Rio, he has declared that he should go in the Hall of Fame this year. Not even just he should go in the Hall of Fame. He needs to go in there this year.
I mean, I disagree. He was good. Given the right opponent, he had some really good matches. But to me, there was nothing special about Alberto Del Rio. Not that character. I understand in Mexico, under the mask, he was great.
Huge. He's huge.
Yeah, he was great. And I get that because he was allowed to do everything that, he was capable of doing. But the Alberto Del Rio character just never did anything for me. Like I said, nothing against his abilities, but
he was bland.
Yeah, he was very bland. He was very bland and very methodical. For some people, that works. Randy Orton has a very methodical style, but it works for him. But it doesn't work, especially when the company's trying to push you as the next top Latino star,
right?
Which is why they signed him to begin with. They've been looking for a replacement for Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, and you can't do that because those are once in a generation type of talents. So, and all it does is just hamstring the athlete that gets put in that role.
And Del Rio, like you're saying about the methodical thing, with Randy Orton, you can see he's always kind of looking, I mean, like a viper, like he's about to strike. With Del Rio,
he's always slithering around like he's just at any minute he's gonna get you.
And Del Rio, he looked like he could, but I mean, it wasn't like he was nonstop. You know, like you always say, like the Frankenstein monster, you can't stop him. You know, he would just kind of take his time. And his matches, to be honest with you, I mean, sometimes they can be kind of boring.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, a good looking guy, he really is. And he's like 40 something years old, and he's getting women half his age.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's doing something right.
Yeah.
And I was listening to another podcast today, and I listened to a couple of them actually. So I'm making sure I don't get blurred which one it was. I don't want because I think there was actually two different ones that they kind of had the same points about Del Rio. If you look at his resume, world champion, Money in the Bank, Royal Rumble,
yep,
you know, he has a lot of those things that you could say, okay, his resume says yes, put him in the Hall of Fame. Then you have his arrest record, which kind of cancels everything out.
Yep, the multiple arrest records. I mean, if he's going in the Hall of Fame for how many times you get arrested in a career,
he's there.
Then he's there. He's first ballot Hall of Famer.
I mean, even like 2 months ago, he was still getting arrested.
Right. But it's like, you can't, I mean, they're not going to, I mean, there are cases where they've looked the other way and put people in the Hall of Fame that was a little questionable, but I mean, his is domestic violence and like, I think kidnapping at one point and things like that. And it's like, dude, you're never going in the Hall of Fame with that. You know?
Yeah, these aren't unpaid parking tickets.
Exactly.
Yeah. In fact, I think Paige was part of that. Wasn't he arrested for threatening her?
Yep, threatening her. He was arrested for unlawful imprisonment on the woman that he dated after him and Paige had split up. I think he got arrested for domestic violence and unlawful imprisonment. And then he got arrested again, like you said a couple months ago. His trial is his trial is supposed to start soon. So I don't know, I don't know what those charges were, but it's just like a litany of despicable charges. So yeah. I mean, no police record is a good police record, but his is disgusting. So
right. So and then he says, y'all need to put me in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's like no.
Nope.
Yeah, unless there's a county jail Hall of Fame, then that's the only one you're going in.
So, but that was like the big wrestling thing that I just had to bring up before we actually started talking about the pay-per-view.
One other thing that I did see on Twitter, congratulations to Matt Cardona, which for people that don't know was Zack Ryder in WWE, and Chelsea Green. They got married over the weekend.
Oh, congratulations.
And there was a cool picture, excuse me, of Matt and his groomsmen, which were, just to name a few, Cody Rhodes, The Miz, John Morrison, Dolph Ziggler. They were all groomsmen at his wedding. Yeah.
That actually is pretty cool because because you got two guys right there who are still part of the WWE.
Yeah.
And they're saying, you know what, friendship is beyond business.
Yep.
And back I know probably when we were in high school, maybe a few years after that, Vince McMahon, if he would have found out that one of his wrestlers were at a wedding as part of the groomsmen, not even a guest, as a groomsman, as somebody who's left the company or be a part of another company, he'd probably try to fire him.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But now he has to calm that crap down.
Yeah.
So but yeah, definitely congratulations to them. My invite must have got lost.
Mine too.
And I'm going to have some heartburn about that for a little bit when I'm trying to go to sleep tonight. I'm trying to figure out what I did,
to not get invited. I know.
not get invited. I mean, come on, you know, if I ever get married again, which my wife and I, we've been married now for almost 23 years, so I seriously doubt I ever get married again. But
nah, I don't see it happen.
yeah, but you know what? When my daughter gets married, even though she says I'm never getting married, whenever she gets married, I'll send them an invite.
There you go.
So, before we go ahead and move on to the pay-per-view or the premium
live event.
Premium live event, the WWE.
Michael Cole was pushing that hard all night long.
Oh, I didn't even. A lot of times, I mean, I'll hear the announcers, but I won't.
Mhm.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Which means that's honestly they're probably doing a pretty decent job then, because I'll pick up certain things I didn't pick up that.
Yeah.
But I want to go ahead and give our contact and listening info. If anybody would like to contact us via email, it's armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to find us on Facebook, it's facebook.com/armchairbookingpodcast. You can find us on Instagram at Armchair Booking. You can find us on Twitter at Booking Armchair. You can find us on YouTube if you're watching.
Yep.
Just do a search right now until we get, I believe it's 100 subscribers or maybe 1,000 subscribers. We have to get it like the little random characters things. Once we get those subscribers, I'll actually change that to Armchair Booking Podcast. So hit that like and subscribe button. If you send us to your friends, also have them do the same thing. Have them give us a look, give us a listen. We definitely appreciate that. We are also on TikTok, and now that we're doing videos on YouTube, we'll try to get some videos on TikTok as well.
Yep.
And if you want to listen to us, if you're audio only, which I get that, because all day long when I'm at work, when I'm not in meetings or talking to people about work, I usually have my headphones stuck in my ears, listen to podcasts. But you can find us on just about any kind of audio platform. Yeah, you can find us just about any kind of audio platform you can think of. That includes Apple Music, that includes Spotify, that includes Stitcher, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Sort of. We've talked about that. It's there up until a certain episode, and then it just stops. And they have been no help
trying
to get it fixed. So I don't know if I could just take it off altogether, because what's the point? But
yeah.
But we'll see. You can also find us on Podbay. You can find us on Pocket Cast or some other third-party platforms. That one of those today, I actually saw that we had moved back up to number 175 on the top 200 wrestling podcasts in the world. And when I was going through that, I also dude, when I was going through it, I also saw the history, and they must not have been posting these, either that or I just didn't happen to check. At one point over the past few days, we were at number 84. So
really,
yes,
wow,
we actually made it up to number 84. That's the highest we've ever gotten. And it's not that we do this for ratings, but it is still kind of a good feeling to know that people are.
I mean, it shows that people are responding to us, and they like what we're doing. So
yep. And I also have a feeling part of that is, I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden we're jumping up right about the same time. The guys, they were called Jay and Trey, but now they are called TNC. Let me go and pull them up real quick, so make sure I get their new name right. They are now TNC Sports Talk, also known as the Jay and Trey podcast. Those guys have really been giving some shout outs, and so I don't think it's a coincidence that when they were shouting us out, all of a sudden we started to get more.
Right.
Yeah, all of a sudden the ratings started picking up. So definitely want to give those guys a big thank you. And we definitely got to get on their show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they had King Titan on there last night, and what was funny was, he and Juice just had that match not too long ago.
Yeah,
it was the one down in Covington, where if Titan won, what Juice was, he'd lose or leave town for 90 days.
Right.
Well, there is a new masked wrestler named Mr. J.
Okay.
He just happens to have the same skin tone, the same build. The trunks even look familiar, except for he's in a mask.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I don't know if it's him. for sure. But while King Titan was on their live stream, because that's the thing, these guys, they do theirs. I mean, it is a live stream. And so you can see in the chat, well, Juice is coming in there talking trash to King Titan during the.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, but yeah, definitely go give those guys a listen. If you look up J&J, you might still be able to find it, but look up J and Trey. That's the letter J, then ampersand, then Trey is spelled Trey.
Okay.
Look for that. You can find on Facebook TNC Sports Talk. That's what they actually changed their name to. And they're also on TikTok. And one of the guys, because you have Justin, you have Trey, and you have another guy named Jake. Jacob and I just became friends on Facebook today. So you if you go to my
cool.
Facebook, if you go to my Facebook, you can see who it is. And they said
Okay.
they probably won't be able to make the Mount Orb show this upcoming Saturday, but they probably will make the Covington show, because I guess they live a little further down in Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking around like Ludlow or somewhere like that. And they're not even sure where Mount Orb is. And so I'm about to send them directions.
Okay.
Say it is Mount Orb is actually really easy to find. You just if anybody, if you were coming from the Cincinnati area or Northern Kentucky, get on 275 that goes around. That's the bypass around Cincinnati. It's the loop. You get on that, then you get on Ohio State Road 32, heading east. You get on that road in Eastgate, but it is like a freeway. I mean, it might as well be an interstate, because it's kind of an expressway, because you don't have driveways. You have roads that come off of, but you don't have driveways.
Right.
So it is, for the most part, 4 lanes. Two lane roads divided by the grass median, all the way to Jackson, Ohio, which is close to West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
But as 32 intersects with US 68, the same US 68 that runs through Hopkinsville. Not only that, I believe 9th Street is US 68, isn't it?
Yeah, after so long, yeah.
Yeah. So the very same US 68 that at some point it goes from north south to east west, or if you come from another direction, it goes from east west to north south. But but anyway, very same one, right where they intersect, that's Mount Orb. So it's actually really easy to find. And in the sports complex, you just make you get on to 68, heading south, past the McDonald's. The very next road is the road. You get on that, and it takes you all the way to the sports complex.
Okay.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're listening, that's how you found Mount Orb. So I do believe that is everything. Oh, and as usual, we are hosted by Block Talk Radio.
Absolutely.
And that's another way you can listen to us. And if you go to our Facebook, I'm try to post the links in there for all the different ones, if you just want to go straight without having to search. But if you go to the link that's there, usually it'll take you right to Block Talk. But if you have a preference, just do a search for Armchair Booking Podcast or Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast, and you should be able to find it with no problem. So if you see something that says Armchair Bookers, that's not us.
Yeah, that's not us.
And they only did like not many episodes, and last time I checked, they hadn't posted anything in like 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there you go. So on to the premium live event. Day one. They really shouldn't have called it that, because now I'm thinking day one of what?
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to try to do that. Here's the thing. They're not going to be able to do that every year.
No. They shouldn't have done it this year.
No.
Because my dad called me right before it started. And I even mentioned to him, and my dad's not a wrestling fan, and he even gives me crap all the time. How can you watch that fake crap? And he didn't do that this time, because he knows about the podcast, and
right.
And he knows how much I enjoy it. And then I said, hey, we are growing our audience. And so now he's kind of like, oh, okay.
He's like, all right.
So, but I even mentioned to him, I was like, they're having I said, because we've already done a preview of it. Now I'm kind of obligated to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't have to watch it live, but it makes it better if I do watch it live.
Mhm.
Um, I said, but why they did it on New Year's Day, knowing they're going to be bumping up against, football.
Yeah.
And he's like, who did that? I'm like, WWE. He's like, that's crazy. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
And now, granted, here is it. Okay, not as much of a disadvantage. Is yes, they do not have to. You don't have to watch this live, and it's not a pay-per-view because you can
Right.
always catch it on the network the next day, or
Yep.
even really after as soon as it ends.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
they have a
so
replay on as soon as the live feed ends, then they'll have the replay on there.
right. So it's not not as much of a disadvantage at what it would have been, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whenever the
Yeah.
network, right before the network started.
Right.
Um, but this one had other issues. First of all, and I've seen some people are like, "Oh, this pay-per-view was absolutely great." I'll say it was about average because there's a lot of things that kind of balanced out.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Yeah. It was about average. It was a step above an episode of SmackDown,
Uh,
is how I felt about it.
yeah, and there were some things that felt like it was below SmackDown.
Yeah.
Because for one, there was no intercontinental title match. There was no
Nope.
U.S. title match. There was no
Nope.
SmackDown women's match. There was no women's tag team title match.
Nope. There was 4 championships, which tells you that you have too many championships
Yeah,
if you can't get them all on your show.
right. And you look at Shinsuke and you look at Damian Priest,
Hmm.
two guys who could put on some great matches.
Oh yeah.
Why wouldn't you want them on your show?
Yeah, because they're mid card champions, and they usually save them for. They usually have them like tonight. Damian Priest is defending the United States title against Dolph Ziggler on Raw. Could have done that at the pay per view,
Yeah.
but we did it on Raw.
No, we got all this other crap,
Yeah,
like this pre-show match.
yeah,
The pre-show match, from what I understand, it's supposed to kind of generate interest in the rest of the pay-per-view, and they always show this for free, so that way if somebody is watching for free, as a kind of a, hey, this is what you can see. So you'd want to have a good match. I'd say putting Damian Priest and Dolph Ziggler in a match would be a pretty good match, and it'd be a title match.
yeah,
So you would
yep.
kind of pique some people's interest. They didn't do that.
No, they gave us a throwaway. Basically, nothing against any of the guys in the match, but it was basically a house show match, is what they gave.
Yeah, because you had the English guy and the Irish guy going against the Swiss guy and the dude from Paducah.
Yeah,
And I just figured I'd throw it in because I thought that was like some of the most interesting things about the match. And I felt bad because like I don't know why I was thinking Rich Holland was Irish, but now Rich Holland, who looks like Corey Taylor from Slipknot / Stone Sour, and I mean he's a jack dude, but he left the match really early. In fact, I didn't even really notice. I was like, okay, first of all, where'd all that blood come from?
yeah,
Okay, and look, yeah, Charles Robinson's wearing the gloves. Hey, where's Corey Taylor?
yeah. It's
And
like, where'd he go?
I was like, yeah, where'd he go? And then they said, oh, for the idiot sitting there in Ohio who's trying to figure out where Rich Holland went to, he has a busted nose, and so
Hmm.
they've taken him out, and he's being looked at like by medical professionals right now. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, he's went to the back. So I'm like, okay, Sheamus is now in a handicap match.
Yep. And they let Sheamus win, and it's like,
Yeah,
what sense does that make? But it was like we were talking about when we were texting about the show, and it's like they're not going to let Cesaro and Ricochet win anything on pay per view
ever again.
ever. It seems like.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure Sheamus and Rich Holland they were booked to win anyway,
Yeah,
and so they didn't want to go against that. But when Sheamus is all of a sudden in there by himself, he's now a sympathy character because he's going against two guys on his own.
exactly. And he's supposed to be the heel, but
Mhm.
now you've got automatic sympathy because it's a 2-on-1 situation.
And when he won, the crowd cheered.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no crap, because I mean, and this wasn't by design. I mean, it just happened. But yeah, when you see one person
Yeah.
fighting two and that person wins,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and he won clean. And
Yeah. I just don't like handicap matches, not unless you're like Big Show or Kane or just a
right.
big monster guy. That's one thing, but just an average guy, an average size wrestler, I just don't like handicap matches,
And
especially when the one guy beats two.
I mean, they should have had Sheamus break out a chair and start swinging it. That
Yeah.
way, disqualified, okay.
Yeah.
And
Or
one
if he cheated to win, that'd be one thing. Like
right.
say he snuck the chair out, took out one of them, and then bro kicked the other one and won. Then it would make sense. But just to have him beat two guys clean, it's like that doesn't make sense.
And one, it may have been the other podcast I listened to this morning. They were talking about it. What is the name of that podcast? I can tell you here in a second. But they were actually talking about this match, and they were really what they were talking about was um the payoff. That was a podcast, which is also a really good podcast, by the way. Um, but they were alluding to why did um Ridge Holland leave the match if all he had was a broken nose.
Mm-hmm.
And they've mentioned that people, that Triple H, he had a torn quad and he stayed. Actually, you know what? It may have actually been Jay and Trey they were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, there's like, Triple H wrestled with a torn quad. There's some other ones that wrestled with far worse injuries, or like even John Cena, he had a broken nose. The only thing I can think is it may have affected his breathing.
Yeah. It may have affected his breathing. I mean, if his eyes started to swell, then that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
If it's affecting your breathing or your vision, then there's no way you can compete with that.
Right. I mean, and that's when it does become in like dangerous territory.
Mm-hmm.
And my hat's off to Triple H for, not once but twice wrestling with a torn quad.
Yeah.
I mean that I couldn't do it. I'd be crying like a little girl.
Oh, yeah.
I would. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'll start crying right now if y'all want me to. But yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is maybe it was that bad where they're like, "Ooh, if he can't breathe, if it's affecting his breathing, now you're talking about a lot more serious than anything else because now you're talking about actually the man's life. His life, it really could be a little bit in danger if if he can't breathe or like you said, if it's sweat up enough to where now he can't see.
Yeah.
But and I mean, I'll even say, what, the match was decent. They did figure out an ending after the real legit injury. So I mean, I'll give them props for that, even though I didn't really care for the ending. They did figure out something. So
right.
The Usos and New Day. Good match, like we expected.
Yep. For me, it was match of the night. That was
it was
as usual. They put on a fantastic tag team match,
and it was tag team moves.
Yeah,
that's what I liked.
Yeah,
and if they're going for the pin in a tag match, I like it a lot better when their partner saves them rather than they just kicked out of the other team's finisher.
Right.
And the 3D ending, I run my notes. I said the 3D ending, that was a good throwback.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
Yep. So, and to me, it also showed, okay, their normal finisher didn't work, because of getting saved.
Exactly. So they went with something else.
Yeah. They didn't go with, whoop, surprise roll up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like there were some like roll up attempts during the match, and I'm fine with that because especially like if he had a few, like he hit the SOS, he had the back bridge into the roll up, and he did the back bridge to try to keep him down. Things like that are fine. I just hate when every other match is ending in a surprise roll up, and it's like
Right.
that's I don't know. It just doesn't make sense when it's like why even have a finisher if it's not going to get used to finish the match?
I'm still waiting for a wrestler to show up, with a finishing move as the surprise roll up.
Yeah,
If I was if I was a promoter, he should have. Hey, all right, you got this, there. What's your finisher? Schoolboy. All right, you can leave. You can leave
good
right
boy.
now.
Yeah,
Just get out. Go. And
yeah.
um, yeah, but I mean, like you said, that match was probably a match of nice. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. I mean, um,
Mm-mm.
I wish the New Day would have won, but at the same time, I mean, I wasn't disappointed with the result.
Right. I figured I figured the Usos would win it. They're not gonna have them drop the belts just yet. The bloodline thing is still too hot right now. They're gonna ride that out for a while.
Yeah. And I did see a tweet. Somebody was talking about the Bloodline T-shirts, and they said those T-shirts are just fire right now.
Oh yeah, they're just
Yeah.
selling like quick.
hmm Now, Drew, Drew McIntyre and Madcap Moss.
Oh
Okay, first of all, the pre-match jokes were stupid and borderline racist.
yes, yes.
So,
And I can't
um,
believe they actually had that on, you know, live TV, so to speak.
yeah,
It's like I'm like one, it's like there's only one person that thinks that's funny, and that's Vince McMahon. They're all their jokes that they're doing is for a one person audience,
they're not even
and
good
they're
dad jokes.
no, they're not. Dad jokes are, I tell them all the time.
Yeah,
Dad jokes are fantastic, but
exactly.
no, these were just terrible and annoying, and it's like just stop. It's like this whole gimmick needs to be just thrown in the trash.
Uh, well, here's my notes. I did say the match was better than expected. Um,
Yeah, Moss got a lot more offense than I expected him
yes.
to get.
Madcap needs different ring gear because he's ripped, and they should actually display that. I mean, the dude.
And they used to before they repackaged him as Madcap Boss. He used to wrestle in trunks, trunks and boots, and it's like I don't know why they've got him in slacks and suspenders and
He
a dress shirt and all
he's
this.
built like Goldberg.
Yeah,
It makes no sense. Drew has some serious abdominal or core strength. Um,
yeah,
and that came because of there was the move they did. It was in the corner, and all of a sudden Drew just kind of he kind of leaned off like, whoa,
yeah, yeah,
okay. Um, and then of course you saw like it wasn't immediately afterwards, but later on they were backstage and they attacked him. And they said, "Oh no, he put him in the hospital." It turns out Drew actually already had a legitimate neck injury, and
yep,
this is a way to write him off TV so he can kind of recover from that injury he already had before the match started.
yep. It
What do
was
you
a
think?
smart way to it was a smart way to do it though. At
Yeah,
least he didn't just, win the match and then the next day they're like, well, he's out with an injury. At least they gave you a reason why he's out.
right. Um, Now I don't know who Madcap Moss and Happy Baron dude are going to annoy, but
Yeah, I don't know who they're going to annoy next because they were annoying Drew and Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy's gone. Drew's on the shelf, so I don't know. Maybe they'll just keep him off TV and it'll be good.
yeah,
I'm fine. I'm fine with that. But I think Vince McMahon is a big fan of Baron Corbin, so
he is. I mean, and I don't mind Baron Corbin for his talents. I just don't like the characters they've been making him do.
yeah, yeah. I don't like the talents.
Um, but I mean, like I said, the match itself was better than I thought it would be, and I
It
was
was
glad.
better than I expected, but it was just for me. It was an average TV match. It was This was something that should have just been on an episode of SmackDown, not on the pay per view or a
Right.
premium live event. Sorry.
Now, now RK Bro and the Street Profits. First thing I was thinking was, I even put a question mark 2 face teams.
Yeah.
But then it became kind of apparent who they wanted to be the heels as soon as they all came out.
Yeah.
Um, and so the Street Profits were playing the part of, cocky heels.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. You gotta have somebody just to boo, but I don't think the people really wanted to boo them.
No, they didn't. The only reason, I mean, RK Bro is popular, but the only reason that they were getting so much love that night is because Migos came out with them, and they're from Atlanta.
I was
So
gonna
it's
say the
like,
Migos, I'm guessing that they were like,
yeah,
are they like the new hottest thing from Atlanta right now?
yeah. They
Okay.
kept trying to push saying that they were the hottest group in the world, which is not true.
I,
Personally I'm not a fan of Migos. So I don't like their music, but
well, if they're gonna talk about bands coming out of Atlanta, I personally I would prefer Seven Dust, but that's just me. You know me, I'm more of a metal guy. So
yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how popular when I say Randy Orton, the crowd kind of exploded. I was like,
Oh yeah.
okay, they
Yeah.
just they really love themselves some Randy Orton around there. But the Migos, okay, they came out, but then they didn't do anything. They were just kind of hanging out.
No, it was to get a pop from the crowd. It was
Uh, I,
they got paid a bunch of money to come out and
and not sing.
not sing, not really do anything. Just sit at ringside, watch the match, get in and celebrate afterwards.
But yeah, right. The Street Profits to me, they were being buried.
Hmm.
Um, and once again, I mean, I think this match it didn't show off all their skills, but it did show off some of their skills. You could definitely see how high Montez Ford can get when.
And the Street Profits were a lot more aggressive in this match, which I
Mhm,
think they need to be going forward. That's
mhm.
that was a good side of them that they showed that you know the more serious side of we're in a championship match and we need to pull out all the stops. And I thought it was a really good match. It wasn't as good as Usos and New Day, but that's a high bar to reach.
Yeah.
But it was a really good tag team match.
Hmm. And my God, Montez Ford and that drop kick he does.
I know.
That dude could jump up and drop kick Andre in the face.
Yeah.
Even um, but Great Khali, all 7'7" of him.
Yeah.
Montez
I
Ford could jump up and kick over him if he wanted.
and I like that Riddle toned down the goofiness
Hmm.
in this match. When he tones down the goofiness, he's a killer. I mean, you can
Hmm.
see what he's capable of doing. And it looks like Randy Orton's having like the time of his life with this. You could tell because he's putting in that effort. When Randy is motivated, even at his age, he can still give you great matches. It's just a lot of times Randy's one of those people with that God given talent, and it's just sometimes he just kind of coasts on
Right.
that talent. But when he's really motivated, he can still give you great matches.
Oh yeah. And I do like how they shook hands afterwards.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I did write who are the Migos. I would have preferred Seven Dust, but so I'm trying to think of some other Atlanta bands.
I would have preferred Outcast if
I
they
was
were
going
still
I was about to say Outcast.
together.
Because I don't think Collective Soul. I don't think they're considered Atlanta because they're from Stockbridge, which is it's
Mhm.
outside Atlanta, but okay now. Oh, Black Crows.
Yeah, yeah.
Steve Gorman, the drummer from Hoptown.
Yep.
Yep. So there you go. Um, Now the next thing, and this actually wasn't a match. I just put in my notes. They had a Bianca promo. So it
Yeah.
seems kind of out of place because she didn't have a match on the card.
Yeah.
So I mean, not that I minded, but but it was one of those very in depth. Showed her going back to her high school, and I was like, okay, cool, but
But where is she? It's
where is
like
she?
you couldn't put her on the card after that hype package. You couldn't put her on the card.
Yeah, and it's like,
Speaking of burying people, I've seen on Twitter where it's like people need to stop saying that they're burying Bianca. No, they buried Bianca.
they buried Bianca.
I
And
mean, she went from the hottest thing in the company, and they cooled her off as soon as Becky came back.
Yeah, it was like lava dropping into the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like, and yeah. Now I have seen speculation that they are part of the reason why they had that promo was there. She's going to be Becky's next opponent probably for WrestleMania, and that will bring in a good crowd.
Yeah.
You know, just like Bianca and Sasha last year stole the show. This year, Bianca and Becky. I don't think they'll do as good as Bianca and Sasha.
No, because honestly, Sasha, not that Becky is a bad wrestler. I like Becky Lynch. But if you just compare skill set to skill set, Sasha's the better wrestler than Becky is.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And I think she meshes a lot better with Bianca's skill set.
And and it will be a good match once they do finally have an actual match instead of a squash.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what they should possibly do? Bring out the spouses because they don't really talk about them as much. Bring them out like to accompany them, or I mean,
yeah,
they miss so many opportunities to do that. Unlike the next match with Edge and Miz. Now they showed the video package of this, and I will have to say the best part of the video package was when Edge he was sporting that Slayer shirt.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
And Maurice, she came out. She's dressed like the lead singer of a goth metal band.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, interesting. Edge, he did this before where he started at it was like a new theme song, and then all of a sudden it kicked into Metalingus.
Yeah, he did the old Brood theme song where he came up. Remember when he came up to the fire? He did that at SummerSlam last year.
Okay, I knew there was some other time he did that. I couldn't remember.
And I did like. I've always loved the Brood interest, so I did like that. And then I did like how he kind of, kicked into Metalingus. But the match is what I thought it would be. It was, it was a good match. There's both two veteran guys that know what they're doing. It was a good match. It's just, I just haven't been into the story. So it's like,
yeah. I even put slow paced match, good wrestling moves, but not real exciting. And because it wasn't, I mean, there was good moves. I mean, these guys, you expect that.
Yeah.
I even put it looks like a Raw or SmackDown match, which I mean it. But then remember we were talking about Beth Phoenix,
Yep.
And she did.
As soon as I saw her, and she looks like she got some tips from Ember Moon. She had an Ember Moon type look.
Okay, I was going to say Beth Phoenix. My notes I put she resembling a warrior. Then I put she looks like Eleven's sister in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So, and for those of you who don't know, I'm talking about, go watch season 2 of Stranger Things. And in this one particular episode, which my daughter, according to her, and like all the Stranger Things just marks, that particular episode is like horrible. They should get. I'm like, no, it actually whatever. But I say, the match itself was okay, but it is forgettable. You're not going to remember much about this match.
It's not one that I'm going to go back and watch. If I watch anything on this, if I was to go back and watch anything on this pay-per-view, this is not going to be the match I go back and watch.
Exactly. Now Becky and Liv. Here's my notes that I said, and you can give me what you think as well. A lot of striking moves, which there were.
Yeah.
There was some decent wrestling. Big Time Bex is not a good nickname.
No, not at all.
No. Liv, she's proven herself. The match was sloppy at times, and I put in parentheses the top rope drop kick and then slamming the head off the announce desk. You saw her head was like this far away from it. I mean, it wasn't even close. Now, Liv, she did have like the move of the night. That
when Becky was in the corner.
Yes, and she got that power bomb.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was like, whoa. And
I thought for a minute they were going to give it to her. I thought she was going to win it there, and then Becky kicked out, and I'm like, well, that was it.
Yep, that was it for that. And The last note I wrote was an accidental clean finish.
Yeah, because Becky tried to put her feet on the rope. She hit her with it's the rock bottom, because Becky
Yeah, it
Lynch has
is.
said she talked to the Rock and asked his permission to use that move, and he said he was fine with it. She calls it the manhandle slam. So she hit that off the ropes because Liv went for Oblivion, her move off the middle rope. Becky tried to put her feet on the ropes, but never could get it.
Yeah,
So
she was
yeah,
too
it
far
was
away.
just yeah, she was too far away, because you saw, like, it was like it was her left foot. She's putting it back there trying to hit the ropes, and she couldn't touch it. And so yeah, accidental clean finish. That's a good title
Accidental.
for that.
I mean, that's I was like, whoa. Then I was like, did she ever make the ropes? They showed the replay. I was like, nope,
Nah.
accidental clean finish.
Yep.
And Becky's like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be a cheater here, and I couldn't even do it.
Yeah. The thing is, it's like I still feel like that they're trying way too hard to get her, to get that heel heat. It's like, because nobody really wants to boo Becky.
Right.
She's still got the same music, and it's like her music doesn't fit a heel.
Right.
And it's like, but they, and fans have responded to that music forever, ever since she came to the main roster. So it's like, you know, people know it's her coming out. They're excited when they hear the music. They love her. They don't want to boo her. And it's like, I just don't think this heel turn is working out as well. And I can't stand the whole big time Bex thing.
I mean, I get that they're trying to avoid saying the man right now because of the whole thing with Flair, but big time Bex, that just to be blunt, it just sounds stupid.
It does. It sounds dumb. And here's my thing. Vince is a billionaire. Just cut Ric Flair a check and say, go away.
Yeah.
Flair's gonna take the money. He's got 4 ex-wives. He's got alimony somewhere. So Flair's gonna take the money. Just cut him a big enough check so he can go on, so we can get back to calling her the man and get rid of this big time Bex crap.
Yep. And then the match we've trying to avoid talking about, but we're going to have to talk about it. Oh, the main event, which, okay, we could not have predicted this because a lot of the things that happened, which led to this match being the way it was because earlier in the day, it turns out, legit situation, Roman Reigns was diagnosed with COVID.
Yep.
So Roman Reigns.
We hope he gets well soon, especially considering he's battled leukemia twice in his life. So
yeah,
our wishes are with Roman. Hope he gets well soon. And
yeah, and so obviously he couldn't be there, and I don't blame him, because I mean he's been trying to avoid, like everybody, trying to avoid catching COVID, but for him it's a lot more dire situation than the rest of us, because he has he's in remission for leukemia for the second time in his life.
Right.
And we don't want to see him go back into that again. So the match with him and Lesnar is now canceled. So they decide to stick Lesnar in this match.
Yeah, instead of just calling off the match and not having Lesnar on the show, it's like, oh well, we've still got to do something with Lesnar, so let's just give him another title opportunity and put him over here, which makes absolutely no sense for him to be on the Raw side of things when he's been in this big feud with Roman on SmackDown.
Right. And so now, instead of a fatal 4-way, we got a freaking 5-way.
Mm-hmm.
And
fatal 4-way is bad enough, but a fatal 5-way, that's just too many people.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking, you get 5 more people, you could have a battle royal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got half a battle royal right here.
Yeah.
And my notes, very first one, Lesnar shouldn't be involved.
I agree.
So
the match was, and the thing with the match, it got so convoluted anyway, because it was Seth Rollins won a ladder match to be the number 1 contender for the WWE title. So it was supposed to be a 1-on-1 match with him and Big E. Then they inserted Kevin Owens into it. And then last week or week before last, they inserted Bobby Lashley into it. So it's like so it just made Seth Rollins go through a ladder match for nothing. So he just put his body on the line in a ladder match for nothing. And then, oh, well, we don't have anything to do with Brock, so let's just throw Brock in there. Which I have to give Brock credit, though. Brock sold for everybody.
He did.
Which was surprising because generally that is not. Brock Lesnar usually comes in. Anybody that's watched him, especially in the last several years, he comes in, squashes everybody, wins the title, and he's out. But I was impressed at how much he sold for everybody in that match.
He did. I mean, and they were taking it to him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Rollins and Owens, I mean, especially, they were double teaming, putting a whooping on him there for a while.
Yeah.
And
Lashley speared him through the guardrail, which was fantastic.
Yeah. I would jump out of the way. I don't, even in a wrestling match, I don't want Bobby Lashley spearing me.
No.
So,
it's like a train coming. I'm not trying to do.
I mean, you would have to scream, ah! And they're like, that's not the end of the match. I don't care.
It's like it's the end for me because I'm not getting hit by that.
Here, give me my check. I'm done. That's y'all can go and fire me because I'm pretty sure y'all don't want me in there anymore.
Right.
And the first complaint about the match itself, Lesnar was the last one they introduced.
Yeah, and it's like, and they did this a couple of times. They did this when the Usos and the New Day came out. They had the Usos come out first.
Okay, that one I couldn't remember, and I didn't feel like rewinding.
And it's like, and what you're talking about here, Lesnar coming out last. No, your champion should come out last.
Always come out last.
Not only is it respect to the champion and to the title, but it's just, and I'm one of those old school type of wrestling fans that's how it should be. It's like, I don't care how many challengers you have, all the challengers should come out first, and then your champion should come out. And because the challengers have to beat the champion doesn't have to beat the challengers.
Exactly. And I said, this is a slap in the face of Big E, which it was.
Yep.
And I put not expecting too much science, which there was not. The most scientific wrestler was probably Seth Rollins, followed by Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
And
which like we were saying before we started recording, it was a car crash match, which these type of matches, it has to be. You get a fatal 5-way. There's no disqualifications, no countouts. You expect a car crash, but they made it work. It was an excellent match. Except
for the length and the ending.
I
was glad that the action wasn't, okay, 2 guys in the ring, everybody else is resting outside, laid out. Okay, your turn. Come in. Okay, your turn. No, they actually had action going on the entire time.
Yeah.
Which that part I did like.
Mm-hmm.
It was just ridiculously short.
Yeah.
And with a ridiculous ending.
That's because Brock was in there. So
yeah, and Brock.
Yeah.
And so now we have a new WWE champion, which makes me wonder, was Brock Lesnar booked to go over Roman to begin with?
That's what I was wondering when he won. Some of my takeaways was, 1, there was no reason to put the belt on Brock.
None.
2, Big E should not have taken the pin.
Nope. Yeah, because he buried Big E.
Big E just got buried. Stop feeding the New Day to Brock Lesnar. They buried Kofi. They buried Big E. Both of them got fed to Brock Lesnar. Big E had a 100-day reign as WWE champion. And as you know, it's like as soon as we get progress at the top of the card to where, because there's only been 6 Black World Champions in, WWE history. As soon as we get some diversity at the top of the card, it's like, oh, well, we threw you a bone. Now we're just going to go back to the status quo.
And honestly, that is what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I usually don't get into conversations like that, but this one, I
Yeah.
was thinking the same thing, and it was like, all right, here you go. Now shut up. No,
Exactly.
Big E was a great world champion. Big E
Oh yeah.
looked believable as a world champion because I
Yeah.
mean he's Big E for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, I mean he
And I mean, he carried himself like a champion, not just in the ring and with the fans, but outside of the ring. All the
yeah,
appearances that he did, he was on Sports Center on game day, on college football game day.
I'm guessing for Iowa.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's his alma mater, Iowa.
Yep. And stuff like that. And he's just, he's everything you would want to represent your company. And it's like, but instead, we're going to scrap all that. We're going to give it back to the guy that pretty much shows up when he feels like it.
Yeah, because even though they're like, yeah, that's his character. He's the he's the lone
free agent.
the free agent. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, he's just a jerkhole.
Yeah.
And yes, I know some of y'all listening out there are and watching are Brock Lesnar marks. You know, you can call yourself not a mark all you want to, but you are.
Yeah.
And like I texted Dwaylen this, and I actually wrote this down because I did not want to forget this. Brock Lesnar is the high school principal's favorite jock.
Yes.
Because he rarely goes to class, but he's given passing grades anyway.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's
Absolutely.
that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Because he's a world champion, he's supposed to represent the company, but he even told Steve Austin he does not like interacting with fans. Now he's trying to pretend like that because they showed him getting the selfies with the fans after the show and things like that. But he said no, he wants to go back to his 600-acre farm with the house plopped right in the middle of that.
Yep.
Where he doesn't even have to see the road because 600 acres.
Yeah.
That's a long way before you can see the roads. And do you really want your world champion, the person who's representing your company, the face of the company? Because they face it, the world champion or the universal champion, they need to combine those. That's another story. That is the face of the company.
Yep.
And now you got the guy who just wants to show up when he feels like it. He has his own private jet because he doesn't want to hang out with the guys in the back.
Right. He gets his own locker room.
Yeah.
And just, stuff like that. He's so isolated from everybody else. And it's like, but you had a guy with Big E who's exactly what you needed to be the face of your company. And like you were saying, it was just like, all right, we gave you this for a little while. Now shut up. We pacified you. Now we're going to go back to the status quo.
And I hate hearing people say that, well, Brock Lesnar, he's cutting great promos right now. No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's cutting promos, but they're not great by any stretch.
It's the same promo he was cutting when he was there back in 2004. It's just that's why he had Paul Heyman to do that part of it for him.
Exactly. And
he's just cutting promos. He's not cutting great promos.
Exactly. And people are saying, well, Big E couldn't cut a promo. Big E's promos are just fine.
Big E's been cutting great promos for years, for the last decade.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's promos are like Dusty Rhodes. Nobody's promos are like Paul Heyman's.
Right.
That's like the very, very top of the level. But Big E, I mean, his were up there.
Yeah.
And I never came out listening to a Big E promo thinking, well, that was stupid sounding.
Right.
He had great charisma.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince done screwed up.
From what I saw on Twitter earlier, there's reports coming out that if there is a silver lining to Brock Lesnar winning the title, is that his next feud will be against Bobby Lashley, which is what Bobby Lashley has been wanting since he came back in 2018.
I'd pay to see that fight.
Oh yeah.
I'd rather pay to see them fight instead of.
Yeah. This is the match Bobby Lashley has been wanting, especially if the title's on the line. I also saw another report that was saying that there's still plans to continue the Lesnar Roman Reigns feud. So I don't know how that's going to work unless they're going to unify the titles, which I don't believe they will.
No, I don't think they ever will. Not right now anyway, even though it would make sense because like we said, there's four of their championships that weren't even on this card.
Yeah.
And I mean, you had 3 matches that weren't title matches of any kind. So that tells you, do the math, you have too many titles.
Yeah.
And actually 5 titles were on the line. There was one that was supposed to be, but it wasn't.
Right.
It's not
Yep.
just now thought about that. Universal title wasn't on here. So 5 titles were on there. You had 3 matches that weren't title matches. You have too many titles.
Yeah.
And see, all this excitement is making me want to cough more. And I mean, it's apparently, I guess Brock Lesnar is supposed to do an appearance on Raw tonight. Obviously, we're not watching it right now. I can possibly catch the recording later on if I choose to.
Yeah.
Because when I'm at work, I mean, I have to do work.
I did see some stuff on Twitter before we started the show that Heyman was out with Lesnar.
And you know why Heyman's out there with Lesnar? Because Lesnar can't cut a promo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Heyman, I mean, they always talk about the Mount Rushmore of people who can cut promos. If
Heyman's there. Yeah.
If Heyman's not on your Mount Rushmore, he's the man who helped design it.
Yeah.
So
I'm fine with if this is going to lead into a Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar feud, that part I'm good with, but I'm still not good with we're just going to cast Big E to the side.
Yeah.
Because tonight on Raw, they're going to have they're going to have the Fatal 4-Way that was supposed to happen Saturday.
Why?
But to determine the next challenger for Brock Lesnar's title.
Big E. Big E should be the next
It
challenger.
should be Big E because he's a former champion and should get a rematch. But I can guarantee that Bobby Lashley's going to win that match so they can build to Lashley versus Lesnar at the Rumble.
Oh, yeah, because they got rid of the old automatic rematch thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And to me, you're just killing good matches because
Yeah. And I get there are times when I get when it's like the rematch is overkill, which they did with AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Right.
It's like every pay-per-view for 4 months. It was WrestleMania, I think, Extreme Rules, Money in the Bank, the Saudi Arabia show, Crown Jewel. It was like 4 months in a row they had that match. Just have your first match, have your rematch. If the title doesn't change hands, then move on to somebody else. But at least give your champion the rematch. Give your former champion the rematch, not just, oh, well, this guy won the title, so we'll just boot this guy back down the card.
Oh, and I think it was What Culture when they did their one of their shows. It wasn't a show just dedicated to this show. They were talking about, they showed some kind of printout, some kind of screenshot, something where it had listed, it said WWE champion Big E, but above it, the picture was of Brock Lesnar. And there was no mention of the Universal title. So they think it may have been a boo-boo somebody did that. Yeah, Brock Lesnar was probably going to take the Universal title off of Roman Reigns.
Probably. And I did see somebody else that posted on Twitter earlier today that they had seen a report that Big E was actually when it was originally supposed to be a Fatal 4-Way, Big E was supposed to retain.
Right.
And then once they put Lesnar in the match, then it was like, oh, well, we automatically have to give it to Brock.
Oh, we got to give the title back to Brock.
Well, yeah, because it's like now it's gotten to the point where it's like, and for people that like Brock Lesnar, I like Brock Lesnar. I just don't like the fact that Brock gets to come in and it's only in title matches, that he doesn't, that he's every single time he comes back and signs a new contract, he's always in the main event feud for a world title. And it's like you have an entire roster of people who are there all year working their tails off, trying to get that opportunity, and you just constantly hand this guy this opportunity. And Brock Lesnar is not the household name that he used to be, so they can't say that it's like name recognition is what's putting people in seats, because this is not fresh back from the UFC Brock Lesnar. This is not 2012. Brock
No,
Lesnar.
no, this is the lumberjack Harry Krishna,
Yeah.
and his promos are not great. I mean, I guess they're passable. You'd give him a C grade, which meant, hey, you just passed the class, but barely.
Yeah. You did
And
the minimum amount to get through.
right, and besides that, we know it's going to be okay. We'll see Brock at the next pay per view.
Yeah. And it's like we'll see Brock at the Rumble. Hopefully he'll lose the title to Bobby Lashley, because if they're still planning on doing the WrestleMania thing with Roman, he's going to have to drop that title.
Yeah,
because I don't see them unifying the Universal and the WWE title into one world title to go across both brands. That would make sense, and they're not going to do that.
exactly.
That would make sense, and they're not going to do what makes sense. So if he loses it to Lashley, that's fine. But if he holds on to it for any real length of time, I don't understand the logic.
Oh well. And this is why I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of people thought this pay per view was great. I'd say it was about average.
No, it was about average. Like I said,
Yeah.
it was a step up from SmackDown. And I say SmackDown because SmackDown is the much better show than Monday Night Raw.
Right.
So this was a step above a good SmackDown show, but this wasn't when I think of a pay per view, this is not what I think of.
I'm just hoping, like, for their sake, that this isn't their finger poke of doom.
Yeah.
Because I was watching that night in between, flipping back to go see Mick Foley win the world title, because that was the butts and seats night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when Hogan hit him with that finger poke and then he pinned him, I'm thinking they just undid every bit of progress they had over the past
Yeah.
year.
Yep. Everything that was good about the NWO and everything that they had accomplished, like you said, up until that point. And people can say what they want about Kevin Nash beating Goldberg and ending the streak and all that stuff. That streak had to end sometime.
Yeah.
And they didn't have enough main event guys to believably have somebody. The guys that they had in the main event, there wasn't hardly anybody that it would be believable that they beat Goldberg. So I was okay with Nash winning the title, but dropping it to Hogan that way, it's like you just to get a laugh, is all I can think of. But you've just, you've ruined the reputation of your championship. You've undid all, like you said, all the progress that y'all had made, at that time being the number one wrestling company in the world. You ruined all that for Swerve.
Yeah. And that's the way this felt Saturday night. And my wife and my kids, because my daughter was actually here that night as well, when that happened, I started screaming some words. They weren't very nice words.
Yeah, same.
It was the same.
My wife heard me say some stuff because I was not happy.
Yeah, I texted you at least one of those words that I said.
You did.
And you texted me back the very same word.
Yep.
Except with that, all the exclamation marks. And that's exactly how I feel about it.
Oh yeah.
They should have just said, you know what, Lesnar, we can have him get involved, just don't have him get involved in a match.
Yeah.
Have him go out and disrupt the Usos match because Roman Reigns is his adversary. Go have him start messing around with them.
Right. Plus, Brock being Brock, since the Usos opened the match, have him go out there, mess with the Usos, and then he could get on his jet and go home. He wouldn't have to wait around for the main event.
Yeah. And oh well. I guess we're gonna just have to move on from this.
Yeah.
Hopefully they start recognizing the error of their ways. Hopefully they'll start watching this show or listening to this show. And they'll watch this on YouTube, but they can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, any of that.
Yep.
And one of the things which they really should do, they should go buy our merch.
Yeah.
And where they can buy our merch is on TeePublic. Ooh,
Yep.
can you
Yeah.
see that?
I
Yeah.
see it.
And right now we have the two designs, and like I was mentioning to Joanne and everybody else last week, I'm going to start this same designer here. I will probably get rid of this one here,
Right.
even though this one does look really good on the coffee mugs.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, in fact, let me show you. Clicking this design here, you see the little black box. You start clicking on other colors where that black box stays. Some people actually don't mind that. I think it looks bad after a while because even like on an all black background. But when you start bringing like the coffee mugs, ah,
Yeah.
and you can put it on a notebook. And let's see what else. Of course, you already see the coffee mug. You can have it on a pillow.
Cool.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that's just something fantastic. But the other design, if you know, it has the transparent background, which means, see.
Yeah. Yep.
Now I'm going to start changing some of the colors of the letters in the ring because unfortunately, when you have a red shirt, the red letters don't show up as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing. If you have a white shirt, you can see the ring, but it's kind of like,
Yeah.
um, and the sticker itself looks cool. These look fine, but I think that's one where the other with the black box actually looks better on some of the
Right. Yeah.
other things. But ladies and gentlemen, if you want to buy our merch, that's where you go to.
Yeah.
And I include the link in the description. I include the link every time I post this on Facebook or Twitter. And so I didn't even mention the merch store before. I don't know how I could forget it because I had it sitting there waiting to do a screen share. Because now, as you can see, we are on video
Yep.
finally. And so that took Joel and I getting some confidence enough to say, you know what, let's just um,
Yeah.
go
Let's
for it.
just put it on there.
Yeah, and I have to thank the guys from Jay and Trey or TNC Sport, they're because they have a nice video show and they started an audio because of us. I'm saying, you know what? I'm gonna return the favor, do video because of them. So those guys have also helped us out that way.
Right.
So, but this Wednesday we have another first for us. We are scheduled to have, and I need to remind the guys to make sure they didn't forget.
Right.
Yeah, Noah Gabriel, who is going to be challenging Sinclair Octavius Bentley for the tri-state title at the show in Mount Orb is coming Saturday. Well, we're going to have them on there to kind of discuss the show because I don't know if you've been seeing Twitter and Facebook, them two going at it.
They have been going at it.
Yes,
hard.
they have. So we want to be part of that going at it.
Oh yeah.
And it's starting to get kind of personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it was already, Sinclair and Alex Hayden putting Noah's friend Tiny Tim out of action for a bit.
Yep.
And, so now we're going to discuss that. And these two guys, I'm pretty sure, have some nice words for each other. And, they have both agreed to come on the show. So hopefully they will remember because they also both have lives outside of wrestling.
Right.
And sometimes we've had this happen in the past where it's going to happen all of a sudden, boom. And a lot of times it's real work, they're real jobs, they're shoot jobs, something comes up. But we're looking forward to that. And Thursday we are going to do a year-end review show. Haven't really decided what exactly we're going to have on here, but it was an interesting year to say the least.
Yeah.
In both wrestling and our podcast. So, but we always manage to get through it, and a lot of times it's better for us not to plan. we just go spontaneous, and we just got bullet points, and we just roll. So
yeah.
But I don't believe there's anything else, and I have no idea what's going to be happening on Raw right now. So I guess I'll have to catch probably the recap shows of that. Because I've also I've kind of joined the crowd of I don't watch it because for one thing, the show is too long to begin with. And,
especially it doesn't come on until what, 8:00 Eastern time?
Yeah, 8:00 Eastern time.
Yeah. And then it's 3-hour show. So it's like 11 o'clock your time before it goes off.
Yeah. And the first 20 minutes are usually going to be,
Yep.
them doing some kind of skit from a high school play.
Yeah, it's either a high school play skit or a 20-minute promo that goes nowhere.
Yeah, and then they'll talk about, okay, we're going to have a match, and then they keep showing the replays of the skit.
Yep.
In the meantime, guys who they could have been having on there with an actual match get let go.
Yep. Absolutely. And it's just I haven't, like I said, I've told you this before. I haven't watched an episode of Raw or SmackDown like all the way through in years. The I just wait until they post like recap videos on YouTube, and then between that and Twitter, that's how I keep up with everything.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are doing now. And hey,
Yeah.
why are your ratings suffering? Well, it's the product you're putting out. That's the
Mhm.
first thing you should look at. So,
Yeah. Now,
but
now AEW, I watch it every week, but
yep. And hopefully, those of us who have actually sat through this entire video, hopefully you enjoyed it. This is a brand new thing for us, and we are always looking to improve it. So, like I said, I already have ideas. I was even trying to run through some ideas through Dwayla, and just I could not get the technology to agree with what I was trying to do.
right. Yeah.
but but hopefully we'll get some of that going. And we are always looking to improve ourselves no matter what, because we're just kind of never satisfied, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. You always got to work, always got to improve.
And also, y'all can kind of rate our beards here. I don't know if y'all can tell.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't know how here's well, go ahead and get kind of up close to the camera if you can, as much as you can. Yeah. Yeah. So you got we're about the same here.
About the same, yeah.
Yeah. So um and so hopefully we're not too ugly for y'all. Hopefully that's not a big turn off.
Yeah.
If you need to, just close your eyes and you'll be
Yeah.
fine.
If you just need to do this, we're okay with it.
Do this.
So,
I mean, and put a blindfold on, something, because we're not going to get any pretty. We're getting the older we get, the uglier we get.
yeah, this is what you get.
Yeah,
So,
and considering we started out, with the bar kind of low to begin with, and just keeps getting lower. But that's just how life goes.
yeah.
But like I said, I'm perfectly fine with it. I am 48 years old. Waylon's 48 years old, and we could give two less than a something.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully you'll join us again. And my friend, until then, God bless.
All right. God bless.